Hi guys, my name is Cindy Curleto. Most of you know me as the one Viennese Filipina that went back home to Manila and made 10 years of career for myself over there in show business. I was a mainstay in Bulaga, in Diversities. I'm best known for my role in Encantadia as Cassiopeia, a Diwata, as we see in the mythology booth. And I left my ears at home, I'm so sorry. And I also worked for MTV, and now I'm here back in Vienna. I'm a mother of two. I was born and raised in Vienna. I'm half Filipina, obviously. Not many people know that, and also Filipinos don't know that I'm from there. Austrians don't know I'm from here, so I'm PMSing. I almost cried watching your guys' movie. I did cry. Okay, I cried.
I think we were all short of like tears, especially when they started showing that scene where there were tears. And before we continue, I'll let you two also introduce yourselves again, just to remind our viewers. Birgit, please.
Okay, I'm Birgit, obviously, from Germany. I'm a German-Filipina, so because I have both nationalities, beide Staatsangehörigkeiten. And I work as an art and artist coach because I'm a philosopher, a coach, a musician, and we don't have this word in English, Theaterpädagogin, somehow drama education. So, and I work always between the disciplines of the fine arts. That means bildende Kunst, darstellende Kunst, Literatur und Musik. So we decided to switch languages, as you may recognize. I keep it. Please take it as a reference to Taglish that we now speak Dinglish.
Yes, absolutely. If you live in the German-speaking world, we do have this Dinglish, Danglog, Jerglish, whatever you want to call it. Jessica.
My name is Jessica. I'm 28 and I'm half Filipina. My mom is from Mindanao, but I was nice. But I was born and raised in Germany. And I study gender and queer studies. I'm writing my master's thesis right now, and I'm working at the Technische Hochschule in Cologne.
All right, welcome, ladies. I specifically wanted a strong panel of women on this stage because I wanted to highlight that aspect of the migration story of Filipinos, especially here in Europe, right? Because a lot of the people that came in the 70s were women, specifically nurses, as we shown in the movie. I think Cindy's mom is a nurse, or was a nurse. So I wanted sort of like to mirror that a bit on our panel this afternoon as well, to show that we're continuing that tradition of strong Filipino women. And let's start with you, since you already have the microphone, Jessica. Your movie, in your movie, you tackle, I guess the strongest statement in there was when they were calling you names, right? What did it make you feel specifically when they couldn't tell if you were Asian or you were not Asian? Like when did that confusion start in your head? What did it make you feel?
It makes you feel like nothing, like you don't know what you look like and you can't be anything. You can't be German and you can't be Filipina, so I am nothing. So it made me feel really worthless, and actually seeing it on the screen, and I don't think it was the intention, but the words are when I'm showing my baby pictures, so it's really hurtful to see it again. It made me feel like I'm not enough.
All right, let's pass on the microphone. Let's gather your thoughts on that.
I suppose, ich schätze, we share this experience, Erfahrung. Often I have the feeling I do not fit in neither in both worlds. Is that proper English? I don't know, but I guess you understood me.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Don't worry. You can code switch. I think we're mostly bilingual here. trilingual even.
That's our superpower.
That's our superpower as people of both cultures.
We can switch. I'm a mom, and so I remember what my mom used to tell me when I told her that I don't feel like I had any place that I 100% belong to. And the cliche thing, I'm sure most of you have heard it, is you belong to both. You can choose the best of both. And of course, so it's so cliche, as a child you realize that's not fully the truth, right? And so you reject it. And so even what my mom was able to tell me wasn't helping me. And as I said, I'm PMSing, I'm gonna cry.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Normalize emotions.
I think I really resonated, like your film, Jessica, your film really resonated. I was bawling my eyes out. I think it's also not just a less than feeling, but a not enough feeling of I'm not Austrian enough, I'm not Pinay enough. And these comments come from both sides, about either of the side. So it is, as you said, I felt very, very lost in my search for my cultural identity. So I really, we were just crying the whole time.
We have a tearful audience here. No, that's also why I invited these ladies, as you can tell. Our guests on this panel are biracial, multiracial, and I've been wanting to tackle this for the longest time already. I think Cindy and I have had this conversation before that we wanted to, we're playing with the idea of a podcast or like a vlog about it and have guests and just try to, because I, as a first generation person who is a full-blooded Filipino, we experience it being like from both cultures, but I guess having these physically coming from these two cultures as well is an even stronger sort of like push and pull game within you. And I want to know, because you both grew up in Germany, for example, so there's I guess you two share a very similar stories. Are you both from the same region in Germany, actually? Yeah, from Cologne, right? Nordrhein-Westphalia, NRW.
Yes, so we come from the same area, North Rhine-Westphalia, near Cologne. So.
Exactly. And I want to hear the differences between the experience in Germany and in Austria. What are your experiences distinctly that you would say that are very German that you've experienced being biracial and in your search for identity?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is typical German, but more eine Art gut gemeinte Ignoranz.
Positive racism.
When I tell people, so my mother comes from the Philippines, so they start to tell, oh, I went to Thailand. And
okay, universal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the typical German.
Yeah, you can think
maybe if you share a typical Austrian experience and then I can think of something.
Here we go.
I don't know if it's typically Austrian or German, but the whole topic in itself also means that we have purely looking Filipinos or mixed race Filipinos that are actually born here, that speak German and see themselves as nothing else but Austrians, right? Because that's culturally their roots, their heritage, that's where they're socialized. And so I have an extensive family here in the city and they look as Filipino as can be, and they're very culturally informed and educated. They go wandern, they go hiking, they go to Heuriger, and when they sit out there, you always have that Austrian couple that's like amazed by the exotic family that made it all so far to the vineyards, and then they start speaking Viennese slang, loudly so that everyone can see these people are from here. And I think this is why we're meeting today. I would really like the goal for this to be not just us sharing our painful moments, but also how those painful moments made us stronger, and how we are claiming our space. Because when you're saying it made you feel less than enough or not enough, that goes so far that even a single decision as to do I like blue or green better will become mahirap, because you don't know who you are, and how people view you also, as we talked the other day, forms your identity. So maingat kayo how people view you, show yourself from a strong side and show them that Filipinos are graceful and honorable people. And I think, going forward, our strength will always shine. It's a given.
Yes, Charmaine, you raised your pointer.
So I'm actually the only one who was born and raised in Manila, it seems, which is very strange because I stick out in Manila because mestiza, and I stick out here because Asiatin, right? So it's a very strange position to be in because I don't fit in anywhere physically, and I fit in both. I really love this cliche. It took me years to believe my mother. It took me years, but to actually be not either or, but an and. And it's both, and it's a new space that we will recolonize, and I love it. And I love this question of, are you more Austrian, are you more Filipino? And I love confusing people by saying both. And it's like, what do you mean? And then, it starts a whole conversation. But unfortunately, typical Austrian experience for me was I came here the very first time at the age of 7, and my family's from Tirol, so I can also start speaking Tirolean if anybody's interested. But I was sent by my grandmother, my Austrian grandmother, sent to the Spielplatz. And the kids there were very weirded out by me and my sister, and they threw sand in our faces. And so for me, that was my very first visit to Austria. And I was like, I don't want to come back here. And here I am, 20 years living here. So I hate to say that it's a typical Austrian experience, but that definitely, it was very prägend. So.
I mean, racism plays a huge part of it, right? I know we have a panel tomorrow again about racism, but so we'll just touch lightly upon it. We cannot not touch upon it, right? So what were your, not necessarily experiences, but what were the moments where you were like, no, I am not gonna let myself be hurt by this anymore? Where was there a turning point where you were like Cindy said, I use it to my strength?
Yes, somehow, because my whole life I was thinking and saying this, I'm half this and I'm half that. And I decided on my own. I practiced somehow a kind of self-empowerment and said, no, I'm 100% German and I'm 100 as fuck Pinoy. So that's what I am. I don't like these, it's deficitaire to think I'm half this and I'm half that. I don't like that. So I love this, the sentence you say in your movie, ich bin zu viel. Because often it's overwhelming for me as well.
Thank you. Jessica, was there a point for you?
Yes, I think for me it was, I just accepted what people told me, because when I was a kid I was viewed as German, so it's like, okay, I don't look Asian, I'm just German, and I thought it was sad because I felt like, oh, it would be nice if people saw it. And then when I got into school, then all of a sudden I was Asian, and then everyone said, no, you're not German, you're Asian. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna accept it, I guess I'm Asian. And then I got into, I wrote my thesis about white passing, and then, because I was always talking about it, because people were asking, what are you writing about? And I was like, about white passing. And then they were like, but you're just white, white passing, you're just white. So no matter what I say, people have a different opinion, so why am I thinking about them and not about what I want? And yeah, I feel like my movie was just summarizing my whole struggle with it, and now I'm giving it back. I'm like, I know it's confusing and weird, but I'm not doing it anymore. I don't want to struggle answering, are you more this or more that? I want the people who are asking me this to think about why do you think I can't be both? Like, think about that. I'm not the one who's gonna struggle. Maybe you should struggle a bit.
Yes. My dear. I mean, you already mentioned it, but like, I mean, for you, it's. I want to ask you a question, actually, a specific question, because you went back, like you mentioned in your introduction, you went back to the Philippines. What was your experience there? How was it? Because we, you know, in the Philippines, we still have a very much like a colonized mind, where we see someone who is Western looking or mestiza. There's this word mestiza, you know.
Put you on a pedestal.
Exactly, put it on a pedestal. There's a lot of value put into that, you know. And how was that for you? This quote-unquote positive racism, if you may.
Some of you might have seen those moments. I'm not sure. There is still somewhere on YouTube. But I became the poster child for the beautiful mixed-race girl that's too dumb to speak Tagalog. Yeah? So, marunong ako mag-Tagalog. Magsalita din ako mag-Tagalog. Dire-diretso. But when I started to speak dire-diretso, my producer would take me to the side and say, Cindy, you became famous because we admire you. You're so pretty, but you sound so dumb. That we find that so funny. Please, can you please return to sounding dumb? So the racism, even if it's a token racism, is still hurtful. It still hinders your growth, and it still makes you other, right? And I had moments where I was, opposite of, don't even want to name drop, but very, very big, very central personalities you would expect them. Players on a live show on live television, we were speaking English, and he had a little hang-up in his English delivery, and he made a joke then in Tagalog, saying to the Filipino audience, well, why am I stooping to her level? Why? We're just speaking English so that she can understand me, he said in Tagalog. And then I said in German, well, ich kann auch einfach nur Deutsch reden, ich rede eigentlich auch nur Englisch für dich. Yeah? And that, yeah, you have to realize that do not have them put you in a corner. Nobody's gonna put Cindy in a corner.
Yes, it's very true. It's very true. And I think that's also one of the main topics that we talk about when we get together with Centro, and when we talked about the book. It's about like identity. It's like let them talk, man. Let them tell you what they think you are. Let them. That's their problem. You are you. And Charmaine, tell us.
I think there was a moment where I turned this confusion, this sort of lost feeling into humor. Where, people, when I'm in the Philippines, people don't think na marunong ako mag-Tagalog. And my slang got stuck in the 90s, but
yes, it did. Yes, it did.
People make fun of me for that, for good reason, but I usually take a step back. I used to be very upfront about the Tagalog. Marunong ako mag-Tagalog, don't worry, ganyan. And then I started taking a step back and just listening in on what was being said about me or the company I was keeping or the situation in Tagalog na kunwari hindi ko maintindihan. I pretended I didn't understand. And then that's when the humorous part of it came out, where I was like, stigto, like it's really fun to like it's really fun to just also just get a little humor out of it and take the hurt and take the pain and the sand in the eyes as a child and make it something fun for me. And then at some point, when this conversation ensues and it's in Tagalog, I will butt in at some point in Manilenya Tagalog, and everybody's surprised. And I love that moment of surprise because I think there are more, I call us mongrels in the most loving sense. I think there's so many of us, but we don't get a voice. And it's great to be half and either or, whatever you want to call it. And there's a pride in it. And yeah, turn the pain into pride.
Turn the pain into pride. Come on, put it on a t-shirt. Yes.
With ube.
With ube. Are you taking notes, Christelle? We're making t-shirts. So, Let me ask you now this one question. Since our movie is entitled Ugat, your movie is entitled Ugat, roots, right? Let's talk about roots now. Laki na pa may liit, masyadong maliit. How was it, or when did that journey begin? When you wanted to start discovering your roots? Because when you're a kid, you know, like you said, you know, they just tease you. You don't know what to, you know, you don't care. And when did you start wanting to learn more about your Filipino side? Because for the both of you, or for the three of you, you grew up here in Europe. When did you want to start delving into the Filipino side? Or if you grew up with it, did you need to delve deeper into it, for example? Birgit, since you have the microphone.
Okay, so since I have the microphone, no, I guess first during puberty, because you feel, man fühlt sich sowieso alienated in der Pubertät, ja, und dann zusätzlich dieses Gefühl von I don't fit in, so super alienated, yeah, somehow. And then there was first, I was something in my mid-20s where I first tried to learn Tagalog ohne Erfolg. Now I'm learning Tagalog online, much better, yeah, Tama. But the reason why I started researching and working on my short movie is a very sad reason, because last year in October my mother passed, trying to keep things up. And of course, when this happens, you question everything. You question, where are you from? Was hat das mit mir zu tun? My artwork. And there I started. And fortunately, I get connected to Halo Halo Network, where I found a lot of people, where I found Jessica. And I think that's an important way. Networking is important. So now I do not feel alone anymore.
So it was more of a search for a community as well. Yeah. Thank you. Jessica, when did your journey begin?
I think, unfortunately, I had a phase in puberty where I didn't want anything to do with the Philippines, where I was like, maybe it's just easier if I'm just German, maybe that's not as difficult. That didn't really work out, so of course it came back, and I think my journey then really started with my bachelor's thesis, because I interviewed also women who are German and Filipina, like 7 or 8, and we were all the same, like we were all, none of us learned the Filipino language, we all felt like we weren't enough, and it was, speaking to them was so, like we immediately had this connection, and we had a community, and it was, and I feel like that's the thing, you feel so much shame about it, so you don't want to talk about it, but then when you do and others are like, oh, I feel the same way, then it's not so hard to talk about the shame anymore, and it can turn into something good.
Absolutely. No, the community always helps, right? Cindy.
I ate sinigang and adobo every day. My classmates were like, can we go to your house again and have that brown chicken? So, yeah, fully, my parents also separated when I was 4, and my Austrian part was my father who left, so I grew up with a single mom who was Filipina, so I consider myself having grown up in a very Filipino household, and I had experiences that were similar to in the movie, where in Volksschule, in grammar school, I would for the first time arrive at Volksschule, und da waren so Burschen und die haben mich gesehen, wie ich angekommen bin, und ich glaube, ich habe es ja schon mal erzählt, ne? Ding, 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 ding. Ich werde diese Melodie mein Leben lang nicht vergessen und wofür sie steht. Ja? Und ich habe an dem Tag für mich selber entschlossen, ja, hier, meine Entrance-Musik, ja. Ich bin in Wirklichkeit nicht so extrovertiert, aber für den Tag habe ich es für mich selber entschlossen.
Should I play the melody for you? You have a different experience, right? Since I guess you're very much in touch with your being Filipino, but how was it getting in touch with your being Austrian? Because I mean, I know you very well, we're very good friends, and how did that journey start for you? Forced or unforced?
I think I had the opposite experience of, so I also come from a separated household, and my dad white, my mom from Mindanao, from Jensan. And growing up in the Philippines, I so wanted to fit in. And so I denied being Austrian. I tried to ignore it, although, you know, it was very clear from my appearance that I don't look Pinay. I'm not morena, you know, it's the mestiza pedestal, mag-artista ka na lang, you know, things like that. And so when I moved here, which was, you know, to go to college and also to, I think there was a point where I just wanted to get to know the other side, where I think at the back of my head it was like, maybe they'll accept me more, the Austrians. I mean, fail, but sorry, my experience. And I think it's and I was the weird kid in high school in Innsbruck, where they were like, you know, why do you always smell like garlic? Where I'm like, because I eat a lot of garlic. You should too. Like, yes, it's bawang. Like,
blame it on the adobo.
Blame it on the adobo, or you know the. And I think getting in touch with the Austrian roots, it was sort of a forced situation for me, where, you know, I moved here, and so I had to come to terms with, okay, I have to speak German properly now and not Tirolerisch, you know, all that. But yeah, it suddenly turned into, and when I moved here, actually, weirdly enough, I didn't seek the Filipino community in Vienna or in Innsbruck, and I knew there were a lot because obviously I recognized Pinoys on the street. I never had that urge until actually when I met Gerard, and I realized, wow, I miss it. I miss the sinigang, I miss the Tagalog, I miss the Pinoy references, I miss it. And so it became this jumbled up thing, which I think it's where the beauty of it lies, of the mix of both. So
the and the exactly. Yeah. So I think our audience, you can see our audience. Do we have any questions from our audience members? We'd like to open up the floor, because I think we have a few questions in the dark. Gibt es Fragen im Dunkel? I can't say that in the microphone. Do you have any questions for our panelists about our filmmakers, their experiences? They're shy po? Shy?
Huwag na kayong mahiya.
Huwag na po kayong mahiya.
Tayo lang.
Tayo lang po. This is not being live streamed on Instagram.
I know you have a lot to say.
Gusto ko yung si Tita. Miguel, I know you have a lot to say.
I'm not prepared for this, but I guess I could ask. I suppose I also had the same experience where being in school I was teased a lot for my appearance. And my brother, who's actually the mythical creature right now, and I'm sure he would want to ask this type of question where, especially in this modern period where suddenly this Asian aesthetic is coming back up, and but it's mostly typically associated with Korean culture or Japanese culture, and these are not my words. This is from my brother, and I suppose he wanted to ask that how do you guys feel about that aesthetic, and is it a shame that the Filipino aesthetic is not always there, and should it be an aesthetic in the first place, or is it more? Thank you.
You're mumbling something here. Yeah, we are in the middle of the K-pop revolution, so what do we say about that representation?
I think any sort of mixing of cultures is always, at least in my book, just awesome. Let's see it happen. Let's see it happen even more and more and more and more. And I think it is a shame, at least in my opinion, that usually the Asian, when you say Asia elsewhere, other than Asia, it's it's concentrated in very specific countries, and the Philippines is usually not part of the list. I also get questions like, kannst du Asiatisch? Like, kannst du Asiatisch sprechen? Where I'm like, how do we unpack this, right? But it's a shame because I think Filipino culture, also we have 7,000 plus islands. We have so much to offer. You can get anything you want, anything you need, whatever your heart desires, you have in the Philippines. And it's such a shame that we don't get to present it even more than we do currently.
It's the threat, right? It's because we're such a threat. In Hollywood, there are so many Filipino actors that I know of that are not making the big break, that are way more talented, and I wanted to see them succeed, and I'm still waiting. I'm sure we all are, but I think the time will come. And if I'm proud or disturbed by K-pop and so on, I have a 12-year-old daughter. When I was 12, I was crushing on a blonde, blue-eyed boy out of my league, way out of my league. My 12-year-old, she's crushing currently in drawing Asian-looking anime boys, and I am all for that.
Yes.
I think there have to be a Filipino presentation or representation, and I think there is a Filipino representation. We just have to keep our eyes open, because if we want to start, there will be selektive Wahrnehmung. Because there is, I am from the Black Eyed Peas. There's hers, there's Jokoi. We are a lot of people. We just have to keep our eyes open. Pharrell's mom is also Filipino. Bruno Mars.
Yeah, I agree, and I also think that representation is very important. I mean, that's what I said in the film. Like, we need representation to not feel like monsters. Like, it's very you need it. But the K-pop hype is also very bittersweet because it's also like very like a fetishization of Asian people, and it's. So maybe we don't need this big mainstream hype, and maybe it's even better to look for the representation ourselves and not like wait for like a mainstream hype. Maybe that's fine. Maybe we don't get that.
Do we have any more questions from the microphone? Yes, we have a hand raised.
Ich weiß nicht, wie es euch ging. Ich sage jetzt auf Deutsch.
Ja,
ich weiß
bitte.
nicht, wie es euch ging, aber bei mir, also meine Eltern sind Filipino und Filipinas und ich bin hier in Wien geboren. Aber seit Black Lives Matter, allerspätestens seit Corona, hat sich in mir etwas getan. Es hat sich eine neue Awareness sozusagen entwickelt, wo ich mich mit meinen Wurzeln auseinandergesetzt habe. Ja? Also wenn wir wenn wir Asian Hate hernehmen, ja, also das bringt einen ja zum Nachdenken und das macht ja etwas mit uns. Also ich persönlich habe es nicht, oder ein, zwei Male gab es da so Situationen in der U-Bahn, wo sich die Leute einfach wegsetzen und solche Mikroaggressionen. Ne? So, vor allem seit Black Lives Matter, wo wir uns einfach viel mehr mit dem Thema Rassismus und Kultur und Diskriminierung befassen. Was glaubt ihr, hat sich in euch dadurch etwas verändert? Also habt ihr das Gefühl, dass es besser wird? Beziehungsweise wie ist euer Gefühl für die Zukunft, wenn es darum geht, wie wir mit verschiedenen Kulturen oder mit unserer Herkunft und natürlich auch damit umgehen, wie die Menschen uns sehen? Habt ihr da ein Gefühl?
Who wants to take this question? No, wir haben keine Hoffnung für die Zukunft. Danke. Nächste Frage. Huh? Yeah? Charmaine, please.
I think Deutsch, English, Tagalog, gusto mo? Okay. Ano na? Bisaya. No, I think for me, the term person of color, I always thought I was not allowed to use it. And I was also told by, unfortunately, also fellow Pinoys, they were like, ganun ka ba talaga? Are you really a person of color? Where I'm like, yes. And so I think with the, I'm gonna coin a word, mainstreamization, okay, when it went mainstream, the term, I started identifying with it more and more, and also defending my stance na, sorry, fuck yes, I'm a person of color, and deal with it. And for the future, I would love, especially in Austria, I would love to see more Pinoys and Pinays in politics. So this is like an open call to anybody who feels they need and want to represent the Pinoy and Pinay community here. Please, let's go, please. No, I'd love to see it. So yeah, I think that's may FPÖ rally sa labas. Joke lang, please. Let's go, let's all go. Sorry, I had to. Nandun eh. Uminit bigla. Okay.
Don't add us.
There.
Growing up here in the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, you know, in London, my partner is from London, and he's half black. His father is from Barbados, yeah. And he told me that growing up in London, his whole crew was Bayesian. They were all Caribbean, yeah. Maybe someone from Jamaica, but they didn't have Asian friends in their circle. They didn't have Puerto Rican friends in their circle. It was all them. Because London has so much diversity, you find enough of your own kind to form your own clique, right? In Vienna, when I was growing up, there were the whiteys, and then in my crew were all the other colors, yeah? All the other, we were not many. So there was the darkest shade of black to the lightest shade of yellow, all together. And, you know, we would chill, we would hang out, parties, weekends, we were very close. And so you would come to a discussion, one person, you know, received a treatment of racism, and we would talk about it. And I would add my own mustard, as you say in German, ja. Ich habe meinen Senf dazu getan. Ja, so ich habe meinen Senf dazu getan. Und mein guter Freund, my very good friend, who came here from Ghana, turned to me and with so much pain in his voice and real aggression in his eyes told me that I was not allowed to put myself in that camp. And I felt abandoned once again, right? Not just from the whiteys, but from the colored group as well. And that resonated with me so much in both of your movies when you're being discriminated against, but at the same time, you're not allowed to say that you're also a victim of racism. And so where does it leave you? And then, me as a female growing up, it always left me with the fact that maybe I shouldn't say anything. Maybe I was supposed to just go through with it and carry it. And when you talk about Asian hate, I have no words, because it's not just from the whiteys that we're receiving that stigma, right? And I also think at the same time, it's the course of the world, right? They were just waiting to hang something on us, right? They were just, I mean, Asians, they were submissive, and they're good at math, and they pay their bills on time. We had too good of an image. They were just waiting for something.
Wow. What a huge question. What an important question. Als ich angefangen habe mit meinen Recherchen zu dem Thema und zu dem Film, bin ich ja zwangsläufig über Hashtag Black Lives Matters gefallen und auch Hashtag Stop Asian Hate und konnte vieles nachempfinden, wenn ich Bilder gesehen habe von älteren, asiatisch gelesenen Menschen, die auf offener Straße attackiert worden sind. Also muss ich jetzt schon schlucken wieder. Und es ist auch so, als ich berichtet habe, während meiner Pubertät habe ich mich so alienated gefühlt. Mir haben auch die Worte gefehlt einfach. Also ich war sprachlos, weil mir das Vokabular gefehlt hat. Und dank der Rassismusdebatte habe ich jetzt ein Vokabular in die Hand bekommen und habe so die Möglichkeit, mit Menschen in Dialog zu treten. Und ich glaube, dass eben genau solche Veranstaltungen wie jetzt eben miteinander in Dialog zu gehen, super, super wichtig sind. Und dass eben so Menschen, so Frauen wie wir wichtig sind, die den Mut haben, auf die Bühne zu gehen und unsere Geschichten zu erzählen. Also ich finde, es ist super, super wichtig, dass vielleicht auch irgendwann in ferner Zukunft, jenseits von Herkunft, jeder Mensch seine Geschichte erzählen kann.
ich antworte auch mal auf Deutsch. Mir ist dann so eine Anekdote eingefallen. In der Schule gab es so eine Phase, wo ich so Chinesin genannt wurde. Also es war so, statt meines Namens habe ich einfach die Chinesin genannt, so ja, die Chinesin. Und dann haben das auch Freunde von mir gemacht, die fanden das dann irgendwie witzig, also es war auch nicht böse gemeint, so ja, die Chinesin, bla bla bla. Und ich weiß noch so, okay, es fühlt sich irgendwie richtig schlimm an, ich weiß aber nicht warum. Also ich kann es nicht benennen. Und dann dachte ich, das ist eigentlich so schlimm, dann dachte ich, dass ich rassistisch bin, weil ich mich davon angegriffen fühle, Chinesin genannt zu werden, dass ich sozusagen ChinesInnen so schlimm finde, dass ich damit nicht assoziiert werden möchte und habe mich dann nicht getraut, was dazu zu sagen. Und ich glaube halt, dass sich insofern, auch jetzt mit so Stop Asian Hate und so, sehr viel ändert, weil wir jetzt Worte dafür haben, weil wir jetzt wissen, was ist Rassismus und das brauchen wir, um dagegen vorgehen zu können. Also so ist der erste Schritt ist, das benennen zu können und verstehen zu können, was Rassismus überhaupt ist, bevor wir dann auch handeln können.
All right, do we have any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
I got a question. So what would your advice be for the second and third generation who are growing up here, and like what would you suggest them? Are you trying before they going to school, or for example, Cindy, I don't know, you have kids, did you give them any advice on this, or I don't know?
Perfect. I think this is like our perfect last round question, because part of the reason why I collected this panel, because of very shared experiences, a lot of overlap in experience and emotions as well, and the female aspect as well. You know, as a Filipino, you know, we love our women. We are a matriarch culture. And you mentioned, part of the title of your movie is the post-migrant story. And that topic of post-migrant, right? These are our children. It's us as well. We're the second generation, third generation, but now you're raising third generation. What do we tell them? How do we impart our experiences, not just to share our pains and everything, like what do we tell them? How do we equip them to navigate the world now, or the world as we see it and as we know it? Should we start with Jessica? Let's do this round, the opposite round.
Yeah, that's difficult. I don't know. I feel like still community is very important. Stay in the community or seek out communities, and I would say stay with the process even if it's difficult, just stay with it. And I feel like by now we have a lot of like empowerment workshops, and because the movie was also part of an empowerment workshop, for example, stuff like that, maybe?
Ich habe 2 Kinder, die sind 8 und 4, und ich versuche das beispielsweise zu Hause so zu gestalten, indem ich philippinische Märchen vorlese. Oder aber mein Sohn mich nach dem Online-Tagalog-Unterricht Vokabeln abfragt oder sowas, also das in unserem Alltag zu implementieren. Und ansonsten, also dass auch er mitbekommt, Mama beschäftigt sich damit, und vielleicht beide Kinder auch dann Lust bekommen, sich damit zu beschäftigen. Und versuche generell unsere Kinder open-minded zu erziehen, also offen, und beispielsweise auch Farben sind für alle da, also es gibt halt kein Blau für Jungs und kein Pink für Mädchen. Und ansonsten ist mein Ratschlag, auch als Theaterpädagogin, bildet Banden, also Netzwerke, Communities. Es ist wichtig, einen Zusammenhalt zu haben gegen das Gefühl des Alleinseins. Ja.
Also ich werde mal die Frage auf Deutsch beantworten, weil ich annehmen möchte, dass es Schüler, vielleicht Schülerinnen gibt im Raum, Wenn du gerade hier in die Schule gehst und du Filipino bist und du fühlst dich, würdest du nicht dazugehören, glaub mir, ich bin selbst durch dieses Schulsystem gegangen. Es hat mir sehr viel beigebracht. Ich habe überall in der Welt mit dem, was ich hier gelernt habe, viel anfangen können. Du gehörst genauso wie jeder andere Schüler dorthin. Das ist genauso dein Platz. Und solltest du dich angebangert fühlen, solltest du dich in die Ecke gedrückt fühlen, ich vertraue darauf, dass deine Eltern dich so erzogen haben, dass du in der freundlichsten Art und Weise dem widerstehen kannst. Wir haben dieses Stigma, dass wir Asiaten sind und dass wir uns allem fügen. Nein. Nein. Genau wir nicht. Ihr wisst, was mit Magellan passiert ist. Wir Filipinos nicht. Das heißt, du gehst durch die Schule und du gehörst dorthin. Und was ich meinen Kindern ganz besonders sage, ist, das System, wenn man es mal kennt, das Spiel kann gespielt werden. Okay? Das heißt, es heißt jetzt nicht, dass diese Charakteristik, die sie uns als Filipinos aufprojizieren, dass das fair ist. Ich sage nicht, dass das fair ist und ich sage auch nicht, dass es nicht rassistisch ist. Ist es alles sehr wohl. Aber wenn du es kennst und du es durchblicken kannst, dann kannst du es für dich selber benutzen. Und ein Faktum.
I just wanted to touch on Alltagsrassismus. And I think dialogue is really important. First of all, obviously defend yourself, but attack it from a place of kindness and empathy and compassion. I'm not saying their actions are okay, never. But if you, also wie man in den Wald ruft, so kommt es auch zurück. And I think for the Filipino community, I think it's really important to open ourselves up to other people. Meaning, invite your white friends, let them taste sinigang, let them taste adobo. You know, let's halo-halo. Like, everybody loves halo-halo. Like, there's no way you can't like it. But, you know, invite people to get to know the culture. Invite people to get to know us. Invite them and let them see that we are here and we have awesome food and friendly faces and almost all, but I think it's a matter of representation. And you represent, as Pinoy, Pinay, you represent everybody in this space. And so invite them over. Invite them to the Pinoy food festivals. Invite them to events like this. And, you know, let's show them what we've got. There's so much. So just bring them along. And my experience has always been everybody enjoyed themselves. Everybody felt welcome. And I think it's just very important to give a face and a personality and an identity to who we are.
Thank you very much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we end this lovely panel. I would like to thank my guests once again, our filmmakers, especially Jessica and Birgit, for opening their hearts on the screen for us to learn this afternoon, and for my two lovely ladies sharing the stage, Cindy and Charmaine. Thank you for joining this round and for imparting, you know, your experiences, your knowledge, and for being open as well for this conversation. I know, you know, we didn't want to pick too much about the dark and the painful, but that's part of it, right? That's who we are. It shapes us. Hello. It shapes us. It shapes us, and it like creates, like, you know, like a diamond. You know, diamonds are forged in fire, and I know we go through a lot of fire living in a space that was not originally meant for us, but we are here, and that is part of the reason we created this festival, because we deserve this space. We are part of the city, We have contributed to this city for more than so many decades already. And this is our space. Let's claim it, all right? Good afternoon, and thank you.